Hi, I'm Julia Forth, CEO of Cancer Support Community Los Angeles, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight with my colleagues from around the country for Comedy Tonight, Funny on Purpose. And now, please welcome the host of Gilda's Girls Night Out, Ophira Eisenberg.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ophira Eisenberg. I'm a stand-up comic and host of NPR's Ask Me Another. That's right, you heard the name correctly, Ophira Eisenberg. But I was introduced at a show recently, incorrectly, as Oprah something Jewish. So I am thinking of changing my name to that. I'm also a regular teller and host with The Moth, and this right now is a very special episode of Funny on Purpose, the online bi-monthly comedy game show that benefits our producing cancer support communities and Gilda Club affiliates around the world. So welcome, everybody, to Gilda's Girls Night Out. We are celebrating Gilda Radner's 75th birthday tonight. So waiting just outside the Zoom door behind their little Zoom curtains, we have some unbelievable, hilarious, multi-talented, funny women who have backgrounds in sketch comedy and improv, just like Gilda. And joining the party, I mean, I can't even believe this. We have the fabulous Cheryl Hines. We have Suzy Nakamura. We have Arden Myrin, and we have Sufe Bradshaw. We have birthday cake. We have candles. We have champagne or assorted other bubbly-like beverages. We're going to talk. We're going to play some games. Who knows what will happen? Zoom is crazy like that. So, but before I ask our guests to join us, I just want to say a few words about our birthday girl. Gilda was a featured player on National Lampoon Radio Hour, and in 1975, she was cast as one of the 7 original cast members of Saturday Night Live, hired second after Lorne Michaels. In 1978, she won an Emmy Award for her performance on the show, and then she took a bunch of those characters and put them on Broadway for her very successful one-woman show in 1979. Gilda's work on SNL established her as really an iconic figure in American comedy. And then following her departure from Saturday Night Live, Gilda starred in 5 movies. And in 1984, she married Gene Wilder, the love of her life. I mean, it was amazing. The world was her oyster. In 1986, Gilda was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. She felt isolated, and she was looking for like-minded people that would understand what she was going through. And Gilda visited the wellness community. This is a sanctuary in a sunny yellow bungalow in Santa Monica, and it was established actually in 1982 by Dr. Harold Benjamin to support cancer patients and their families free of charge. And, you know, at this time, just the idea, the concept that cancer patients would benefit from support like that was completely considered outside like the mainstream medical opinion of what they needed. And Dr. Benjamin actually created this emotional support system protocol for cancer patients after his own wife, Harriet, was diagnosed with breast cancer. So Gilda drew strength and comfort from these supportive services and the people that she found at the wellness community. So in years to follow, Gilda's family, her friends, her estate created Gilda's Clubs, which are a network of cancer support affiliates with services on the wellness community principles that were established by Dr. Benjamin. In 2009, the wellness community and Gilda's Clubs joined forces to form the Cancer Support Community, now with 175 locations in the US and across the world. The Cancer Support Community and Gilda's Clubs worldwide believe that no one should face cancer alone. The emotional and psychological support services, the healthy lifestyle programs, the patient and family counseling, all of these things that Gilda drew so much comfort from are still 100% free to anyone that is in any way affected by a cancer diagnosis. So please donate today to help us keep providing that support. You will see websites of our participating affiliates. And as a birthday present to Gilda, please just go to these sites, donate whatever you can to continue the support the Cancer Support Community affiliate does in your area. And thank you so much. So I am going to now welcome our special guests to the screens, one by one, to join me in celebrating Gilda. Joining us right now with, I would say, too many credits to count. She's everywhere. The Goldbergs, Dead to Me, Tacoma FD, most recently Lost in Space as Iris on HBO's Avenue 5. It's Suzy Nakamura. Hello.
Hi, me.
Hi. You'll know this next guest as Cheryl because her name is Cheryl, but also as Cheryl on HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm, also on I Can See Your Voice on Fox, and you can hear in the upcoming Troll Hunters Rise of the Titans. And also she does a very cool podcast with Tig Notaro. It's Cheryl Hines.
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Our next amazing guest, I loved watching her for, I cannot believe this, 7 years on Veep because she played this super cool, very mysterious, very organized character named Sue, the only character who kind of understood what was going on in reality. You'll see her soon in Gasoline Alley with Bruce Willis and the musical, which is a coming-of-age dramedy called Metalords. Please welcome Sufe Bradshaw.
Hi, everybody.
And finally, actress, stand-up comedian, author of a new book, podcaster. She is Regina from Insatiable. She is doll-faced Dolores from Shameless. She is a Bachelor fanatic, and her new book is called Little Miss Little Compton. It's Arden Myrin.
Hi. Oh, you mean this? Oh, this
Oh, there it is. Hello.
Hi, Ophira. It's nice to see you.
Hi, everybody. So great to be here with all of you. And you know what? We have some cake. We have bubbles. Let's have a moment where we have a toast to Gilda's 75th birthday. Let's start with just whatever you have. Oh, bring your glasses straight. Beautiful. I'm the only one that has the child-proof glass. Because that is me. So cheers, everybody. And happy birthday to Gilda Radner.
Happy birthday, Gilda.
Gilda.
All right. How do you feel about lighting your cake, everyone?
Ooh.
Hey.
Oh, I don't know. Am I prepared?
I have one too.
So exciting.
Okay. There we go.
All right.
All right. Now, one thing we know about the magic of Zoom, you never sing. You never have more than one person sing.
It is a disaster.
It is sad chaos.
It is a disaster.
So keeping everyone's ears in mind, let's just say happy birthday, and then on the count of three, let's blow a candle.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday! Yes.
Yay!
Yes. I live in a small New York apartment, so will a fire alarm go off? Potentially.
Right.
Yes. And then I know, I will eat it. You know, I don't know what's going on. Is everybody, I think I'm the only one on the East Coast. Are you guys all on the West Coast?
West Coast.
I'm in the West.
West Coast.
West Coast. So I just want to, just talk about Gilda Radner for a moment. I don't know if any of you knew her professionally or personally. My only experience of Gilda Radner was, of course, television.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's nodding. I grew up in Canada, and when I moved to Toronto to basically try to do stand-up, this is as an adult, her legacy and the Godspell legacy of that cast and everything is something that is always talked about in Second City, Toronto, and just all around. It's like, it's really a huge part of basically the history of Canadian comedy. So I just felt like it was always around me, and I was very aware of this person that, I just saw on television as a kid and a teenager and a youth. But how about you guys? How about you?
I was very young. when Gilda was on SNL, but I was so inspired by her. I would, make myself stay up late 'cause back then, when you're little, that's really a big deal to stay up till 11:30 and then try to stay awake till 1. But I just remember watching her and with my sister, who's a few years older than me, but Gilda especially, doing Rosanna Dana, and just being the funniest one on stage that you couldn't take your eyes off of. And her timing was amazing, and she was just so comfortable in her comedy. And it's like she couldn't help herself but be hilarious. And I think that was the first time I had really seen a woman do that.
Right.
Because until Gilda, I had been very inspired by Carol Burnett and Mary Tyler Moore, but they weren't doing something so edgy and irreverent as Gilda. So for me to see her do that and think, oh my God, you're allowed to do that? It was
Right.
just like, it was just opened my mind to a lot of different things.
Yeah, I have a similar story as Cheryl. Like my mom would watch Saturday Night Live when I was a little kid, right? And I remember Gilda and that crazy hair, right, with Rosanna Dana, and when she played the teenager with her and Bill Murray, right? It's like the most brilliant stuff. I just remember watching her as a kid and remembering that. Then in college, I watched like these clips. Was kind of like the best of Gilda, and my God, the way she was able to transform herself and all those different characters. And I don't know, because I feel like SNL, they use cue cards, but I was watching Gilda's work and I don't feel like I saw her reading. I'm not sure, but like very rarely, but she was coming up with that stuff. And what an improv genius she was, and how inspiring. I was like, I want to do that when I get older. It's just so inspiring. And I even to this day to watch her work, man, so freeing. And did you all ever see that episode where she's playing the little kid in her room? She's like, this is the most boring thing ever. And then
Judy Miller.
yes, it was so good. It was just coming up with that stuff. And it was like, she didn't have an end. You didn't think she was like ending. She just kept going and going. And she seemed like she's in a world of her own. So freeing, so inspiring.
Last night I was just sort of refreshed. Like Madeline Kahn and Gilda were the two for me that were my number ones. And I remember looking. I grew up in this tiny town with like a general store and no stoplights and like the coffee shops in a barn and like truly but I was very unsupervised, and I think like she finished in 1980 or 81, so I was like 6, but I was watching, which was telling about the parents' skill. I remember my mom. I credit my mom for I was this night owl, and there was something about seeing Gilda just lit up from within. There was such empathy and humanity and freedom, and you couldn't take your eyes off of her. And I remember stealing. I feel like I would steal some of the Judy Miller show or Lisa Lubner, and go do it. I remember performing the stolen thing for the second grade class at Wilbur School in Little Compton, Rhode Island. And it was just that's what I want to do. But she seemed to be having such a good time, and she had her big hair, and I'm so thankful that watching that. My mom was so funny seeing her. I was I'd never, until I actually started doing comedy later, I'd never heard that anybody thought women weren't funny,
Right.
So it was well, she's exactly what you were saying earlier. She's the funniest one on the show. So it never, there was nothing negative. It was all green lights ahead. Everybody was of course you can go do that. No, there was no negative stuff coming that was not an option, because if you can't see it, you can't be it. And there we are seeing it with her, and she was such a bright light. I think everybody here probably saw it and was that's an option. I can do that. I want to do that.
Yeah, that was a different time, and it's almost like women were named women later than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because for some reason it was Lily Tomlin and Carol Burnett, and Sufi's right. When Gilda was performing, she seemed like that character, like, you know, and she seemed like she was having the best time ever. And I connected with her more. I love Lily Tomlin and I love Carol Burnett, but there was something about Gilda that was edgy and youthful and neurotic and playful and genuine, and I felt like, okay, so she's like, you know, she's someone that I can connect to as a younger person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think that she probably had the effect on all of us like that, right? Like I felt connected to her almost personally.
Yeah. She played those kids so well. There was this innocence of those little pigtails. She was just playing this, she was eating soup in this one bit. And she really believed she was like a 12-year-old kid.
She let herself be vulnerable, and she had power in having people laugh at that. I'd never seen that shift in status before.
Yeah. And talk about whatever that, you know, I would say commitment to a character. I think that's like being a little bit too broad, but it was, you were never like, oh, that person is playing that thing.
Right. Because she loved those characters. She didn't like those, you know, aspects of the flaws of these characters. She loved them. And so that's what humanized them for us.
Yeah, sure.
Am I right in saying that all of you started in improv sketch world? That was your foray into comedy and acting?
I didn't start there. I didn't start there, but I certainly got there. Yeah, no, it was, I'd done some comedy things in college for sure. Always loved comedy, like Christopher Durang and Neil Simon. Like I was always doing those plays, and Lost in Yonkers. That stuff was always fun to me. The pathos, the timing. And then, of course, being on Beat, that was just being thrown into an arena with these, like, you know, comedic machines. Amazing shots. And I just, and I went there. I love comedy. It's so.
Where are you from?
I was born in Chicago.
I love Chicago.
Me too.
Right. Oh my God, you were born there?
Yes. What neighborhood?
We were in Cabrini Greens.
Okay.
It was the hood.
In South Shore Hospital on the south side.
I love that. I spent only 7 years there, and then Mom moved to LA. Did you grow up there?
Yeah, I went to Lake.
See, look at that. And then
I started there. I did improv there when I was 19. I moved there at 19 to do improv. It's the best. I had the best time.
It's a great theater town. Like it's a great place to get on stage and do whatever.
Almost everyone that was there when I was there made it, you know? And like, and it was the one place that I lived where I felt like there was really no emphasis on money or anything. It was like, what are you making? Are you like nobody had any money, and it was just like enough just to keep the lights on, you know? And
about Second City, Arden.
I did Improv Olympic, which was Del Close. Like, so it was like it was where everybody went right before Second City. Mm-hmm. So Del Close, he started the Compass Players, and then he trained like Mike Myers and Chris Farley and then Adam McKay. Everybody came up through him, and then but you didn't make any money there. So then they would go to Second City, and then like Lauren would come for you.
Lauren.
But it was. I had to have a fake ID to perform because it was in a bar, and but it was just such I'd never seen such I'd never seen long form improv, and everybody made it in different ways, like whether as a writer or a performer, but like the number of people when I look back is crazy.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. My experience is similar because I went through the Groundlings Theater here in LA, and it's all improv and sketch. And, you know, the first time I went to see a show there, I was blown away. I just could not believe what they were doing on stage. And I started classes there. And then, you know, when I was going through the school, Will Ferrell and Sherry O'Terry and Chris Kattan, they were all kind of above me. And then in my group was Maya Rudolph and Melissa McCarthy and Will Forte. And so So like you, Arden, I mean, a lot of those people are writers or producers or actors, or all the above. But really inspirational, and I always felt so lucky to be surrounded by them because I felt like they elevated me. And there's something about improv, because it's really about trust. You're just trusting the person that you're on stage with.
Yeah.
So to get to that place with people, you really have a strong bond with them. Sometimes you're just standing on stage with no idea in your head. You're staring at them, acting like you're stirring a pot.
Being like, what am I staring? What am I staring? Doll heads. Great, doll heads.
That's right. But those were the days, right? And actually, it's from that's when I got Curb Your Enthusiasm. I was performing at the Groundlings Theater, and Curb is all improvised. There's no script. So when I went into audition, it was all improvised. And I found out that day that I got the job, which is crazy. That never happened.
That fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting.
Like, did you we say that day, so you did it was all improv, and then you left and you were like, I don't know how you felt. How did you feel?
I felt like it was funny because before I went in, I didn't know anything. They just said, look, it's improvised. You would be playing Larry David's wife. And I thought, I don't know how old you guys think I am. And he said, it's supposed to look like a documentary. It's more like a mockumentary, so it has to be very real. And if they feel like you're being fake or false, the audition will be over. And don't touch Larry. He doesn't like for people to touch him. Like, what am I walking into? But then I walked in and Larry shook my hand. So I was like, oh, okay. He's not that much of a germaphobe or whatever.
Right.
He is a germaphobe. But when we
turns out smart.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows he's neurotic and knows what's funny about it, which is amazing. But we just clicked and we just did some improv scenarios. And, he said, I don't think you fill up the kids' cereal bowl enough in the morning. And I said, well, I cover the flakes. He goes, yeah, but just fill it up with milk. Like, well, I'm not going to because I just cover the flakes. See, they're not going to drink the milk. And it was that. And then we had another scene about chicken. And then I went, I got my car and I was driving and I was like, I think it went well. It's hard to know. I mean, and then at that point, it was just a 1 hour special. So it wasn't, I wasn't testing for a TV show, which you guys know is very involved. And you have a lot of people and you have the studio and you have the network. But this was just a few guys in a room that decided, yeah, okay. And that was it. From there, it turned into a TV show. Crazy.
Yeah, quite a
Cool.
TV show.
That is so cool. What a great story.
and even a TV show. I mean, just recently. I mean, a TV show that like has such a lifetime to it.
It's crazy. We just wrapped shooting our 11th season.
Oh my God.
Over 20 years. I love it.
Oh, it's amazing.
You just never know, right?
Ophira, did you do improv? Did you come from improv? I know you do stand-up.
No, I am. I started stand-up, and then, well, first, let's be clear. I have a cultural anthropology degree.
Oh,
okay. So, it was all in motion, clearly. So after that, I started stand up, and then I moved to Toronto because I was in I was actually in Calgary, and then I moved to Toronto to do stand up, and it was all I at the time the club was beside Second City. They were in the same building. It closed almost immediately. I do have a great knack for being somewhere that you're like, and that will close as soon as I'm there. That's gonna close. And so, but the stand-ups and the improv people there that were doing a review didn't really hang out. So, but I bridged that gap by dating the improvisers. I would just like to
Okay.
but I always found it incredibly hard. So I did stick with stand up. I did a little bit of improv. I did some of the classes. I always felt that it was way harder and not something that I was good at. But I was jealous of these two things. Before every show, everyone would say to each other, "I got your back. I got your back." And I was like, "Oh, that would be so great." Stand-ups do not do that.
No, they don't.
It's a one-man show for sure.
A lot of them
Yeah.
not by your back.
Yeah, and the more there are just men, the better, by the way. And then also just the idea that, you know, you could be on stage with a bunch of people. So if you kind of like needed, like you said, you're like, you needed that moment where you're like, does someone want to step in and help? Yes.
Yeah, and that's what's so wonderful about the process is that, you know, you can't do it by yourself. And and at Second City, we have the sets at night that people come to. And sometimes if there's a celebrity in the audience, you know, they'll ask them on stage and they'll improvise with them. And if you're surrounded by 5 or 6 fantastic improvisers, it's always going to be good, you know, like, because you think about it, you have a group of people that know and love and trust each other, and they're just supporting another person. And the audience is always in the celebrities, you know, they're not necessarily actors. They could be sports figures or political figures or whatever. But if you're surrounded by this trust and this openness, you know, you can't fail, basically. And that's what is so great about that form that I love, is that you kind of have to go on stage with nothing and then just give gifts to everyone else on stage. You know, it's just a wonderful process, especially to be creative in. When you have nothing, you're literally creating something out of nothing. And we do touch each other every show and say, "I got your back." There was something about the physical contact. I hope that doesn't change after COVID, but you know, like, we just sort of like make sure you've touched the other person before you go on stage and perform.
Yeah. And listen to them. That was another thing. I was like, oh, look at all these people trained to listen.
Yeah. It really helped me in life, you know,
Yeah.
knowing that I only had to do 100% of 50%, that you're a worse improviser if you try to manage and bulldoze the whole scene. But that if you go in like 100%, if you're in a 2-person scene and you just are committed to doing the next indicated action, like 100% of 50%, like that, you make it so much worse when you try to manage everybody else.
Yeah. And that hurts the first time you find that one out. But stings because you got nothing. But you never let it happen again. So, and those lessons I think are interesting in improv. You almost have to do it in order to know.
Yes.
There's no way someone could tell someone else what improv is going to be like until you're on that stage.
And there's a certain joy when you do find your people that you like, your group that you perform with. Like, once in a while, there's a beauty to a bomb when it's like, oh my God, like, I'm on stage with people that I know I find brilliant. And like, when we're all you know, like, once in a while, it's like, oh, they hate us. But it doesn't quite feel as personal as stand-up, which feels terrible. When it's stand-up, it's like, there's not enough shame showers in the world to get that feeling. But there's something about, like, they hate all of us. They, like, and looking at, like, there's my friend dying up there. Like, or like, if you're doing a corporate gig, like, there's just something so funny about, they hate me, they hate you, like, they hate all of us. They hate all of us.
Nothing makes me laugh harder than bombing with 5 other people.
You know, it wasn't just you.
I wish I could carry that into like auditions or, you know, anything else in life where you take it personally. I like the safety of bombing with friends.
Oh my God. It still makes me laugh.
That's your new show, Arden. That's your new show. Come up with it.
Bombing with friends.
Bombing with friends.
Well, there is
I see it.
about actually taking the time to write a sketch and rehearse it and then perform it in a show, and it bombs. And you're like,
Oh, we went through a lot of trouble.
We bought wigs. We went to Goodwill. We bought these jumpsuits.
Oh yeah, were you rolly bagged in beforehand and unpacked?
Hilarious.
We put on makeup. We knew we were gonna nail it. We knew you were gonna love it. We spent like $60 on this hours.
You know, there was
Laughed
just
writing it.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God.
Writing it. We can't wait for an audience to see this.
People are
Hate
going
it.
to go bananas.
hey, so because the spirit of games, improv things, games, want to play like just like one of those classic party games, classic party game.
Sure.
Classic party games. Because we can't play spin the bottle on Zoom, so we're gonna play for just kind of like in the spirit of girls' night out everywhere. So how about like a quick round of I have never ever, which reviewing this I realized I have never played it correctly. Which is you have to, as I will start, I have to actually say something I've never done, which I think I've said things and gone, oh no, I've done that.
I didn't know that. So you're supposed to say something you've never done. I didn't know that.
So I'm going to say something I've never done, and then if any of you have done it, you
Okay.
have to and then potentially offer a tidbit about
I love
said
it.
thing.
Fun.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. So it's going to be simple, and it's going to be mildly family friendly. Let's say that.
Okay,
Oh,
and if you have done it, you take a drink.
You take a drink, and then you have to tell. Drink and tell. I'm renaming it Drink and Tell.
Drink and tell. Great.
Okay. All right. Okay, how about this? I was going to be like, I have never dated another stand-up comic, but then we really have to find dating. So let's say this. I have never dated a stand-up comic for more than 1 month.
Oh. Okay.
Oh,
Let me think.
But you guys can translate it into how about cast member or fellow improv team member.
Oh, shit.
well, does it have to be fun? 'Cause-
For more than a month? Okay.
More than 1 month.
I love stand-up comedians. I'm drawn to them. I mean, back in my single days.
Oh, so because you wanted that kind of depression. You're like, I seem happy.
Happy on stage. A month and a half into it, you're like, ew, boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, never longer than a month for those comedians for me.
Improvisers are nicer to date than stand-ups would be my anybody, to me, a male improviser I think is nicer than a male stand-up as a romantic partner. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Who knows now? Old school version of that. Maybe they've softened up.
I agree.
Yes. I did date some people in Chicago, not realizing that time marches on and all of them would become showrunners.
That's
You have to go
hilarious.
audition for them many years later. Like, oh, do you know? So, like, yes, we've met. Hello. Yeah, I know you when I was 19. We've met. Hello.
Oh.
I dated two guys in my cast, not the same cast, but I dated a guy in two different casts. Whatever. I was touring at the time, and this is the thing about touring, but also improvisation. It is a relationship at an accelerated rate, because
Right.
you for in a very short time you have seen this person first thing in the morning, last thing at night. You've seen them be a rock star on stage. You've seen them fail. You've seen them bomb. So you've seen this entire spectrum of human experience in like one show. And so you become intimate very quickly. And not just with, not just with relationships, but just with the people in your cast, like, because you know them so well and you've spent so much time with them and all that stuff. So it's almost, I don't want to say it's inevitable, but it is.
Well, I think the joy of it is also the pain of it. It's like, who else am I attracted to? Who else eyes will be staring in all day? Who are we looking at? I I love comedian men. I actually recently dated a stand-up, and that did not last longer than a month. And I thought that was like I didn't know it was a thing until I'm talking to you guys today. But
Now
they're
you got my
dark.
dip. Now you got my dip.
They're so dark. They're so dark.
Yeah.
No, like, what's wrong with you? You really do have some issues. But it's something about an improvisation actor who I think has to be more in touch with more parts of himself, because he does have to share on stage and he does have to fun. Never did it in improv, but definitely a stand-up comic, which I will never do.
Yeah, you can 30 days. I'm telling you, you can put on your calendar like a menstrual cycle.
Girl.
They you know that they're funny first, right? Because what if you meet someone to them, but you haven't seen them perform, and then you see them perform and they're not funny.
That's a killer. It's not
That's a relationship
break up with them.
They have to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be funny. It is a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, yes, because we all did that then. Arden or yeah, we all did it, right?
Oh yeah.
I guess so. All right, how about this? All right, sure. I have thought about giving up here and there. I have thought about giving up. I've been like, you know what, maybe I will. I always do the whole thing where I'm like, I'm going to move to ridiculous, I'm going to move to, I don't know, Iowa and start a green tea farm. Nothing ever practical. But I will say this. I have never, ever thought about giving up and becoming, say, a lawyer. Anyone here? So many people, by the way, in the comedy world have either done law or left to do law.
But a psychologist, I was on the verge.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, because when I turned 30, I was in LA. I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I didn't have an agent. I was a waitress, and I was like, whoa, this is not what I thought I'd be doing when I turned 30. And I talked to my sister who lives in Florida. I grew up in Florida. And she's like, come home, go back to school, because I had graduated from college, but she's like, go back and get your doctorate in psychology and become a psychologist. And I was like, no. But I thought about it because it was like, it's tempting. But then I decided, you know what? I might die in this 1-bedroom apartment, and that's okay. I'm going to go for it. At this point, I didn't have kids or a husband or anything. So I was like, not hurting anybody else. I'm not dragging anybody else down with me. So I'm just going to hang out here, keep trying to move forward, and not, and I'm okay with it. If the only thing I get to do is like, theater at night or something like that, or take my groundlings classes and I never get invited into the main company, then I'm okay with it. And and then 5 short years later, I got curb.
Wow. Yeah, 5 short years later. No, and not one bit of anxiety in that time, right? It was just all laser focus. I'm fine.
Like, I understand. I think we've all had those moments, but like 30 sounds so young to me now.
I know.
Really? You're only 30 and you're worried about the rest of your, but I'm glad you stuck with it, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a great story, Cheryl. Thanks for sharing that.
I know. It's actually very inspiring. Everyone should listen to that just to remember.
Yeah.
Did you guys anyone else think that maybe they would?
I mean, there was a moment where there was this awakening. I had a really, really tough shoot, and I came home and told my roommate, I didn't know it was going to be this hard.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought I would kind of like mess around with friends, but this is really, really hard work. And it did make me doubt a little bit, like, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Career. But I think you have to love it, because I'm sure it looks really fun on the outside to people, but it's hard. There are hard moments, I should say. And
no, to piggyback that as well. I did have a moment where it's funny you say lawyer, because I love the law, right? And I love the law. I think it's because I in the law that I only saw on television when I was growing up.
Yeah.
The good guy kind of probably always won. They always won. You had the case, you had Perry Mason, or you had like whatever law you had, and he would get the case in Colombo, and then the good guy always won. But then when I became an actor, even if you were better, or if you for the part, or it wasn't always a merit-based job that we did. So the good guy never, I mean, you just never know who's going to win. But I love the law because it always, at the end of the day, before I would fall asleep after watching some lawyer show, LA Law, there was like solace in the fact that, the good guy won. But I never gave up though by acting. And so thank God for that. But I do love the law, and I feel like I would, probably if I had time, I would go get a degree in it at some point. Because how cool is that, right?
Would be awesome.
Right.
I do remember, like, my mom always told me never to have a B plan. Like, I never had a B plan. I always was self-supporting. I always hustled and had like a day job if I had to, but I never had a B plan. But I remember, like, the deeper in you get to it, you're like, well, that's like really crazy. No, there's no that. There's no that. This is what no that, no other skills. Like, no, but they're major skills, and like, my friend Steve Heitner, who was Kenny Banya on Seinfeld, I worked with him on my very first job ever, and he always called it the getting far from the shore syndrome. Because, like, at first, when you're an adult and like you get a few victories and wins, you're like, all right, this is gonna be like this forever. And then, like, there's something about like adulthood becomes slightly less novel and slightly more terrifying. And it's like, oh, it's not going to be September again. I'm not going back to high school in the fall. Like, this is all up to me, unstructured time forever. Like, and he just says, like, there's something about the adulthood of like, I'm getting far from the shore. Like, I gotta have a few things on the horizon that I know, like, I need some goal point, and so I do think, that's when you start hustling more. You add things. I mean, just even creatively, just to feel connected to yourself and useful in other people. Like, that's sort of what I've done.
Yeah, I'll have the thing where, I'll be like, you know what, that's it. I can't put up with this anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got people I'm responsible to. I'm going to find something else. And then I'll go to the email. I'll be like, but I'll just do 10 minutes on that person's show. And then, it's that's always it. Like one that's little it. Thing.
I'll do one more show on the rooftop for the kids that are making out. And after that, somebody's got to be talking while they're hooking up from Raya. But then when that's all done, that's it. Then I'm going to get my resume together and get some skills.
I will let them appreciate my art one more night. And then it's over.
Ignore me while they kiss one more night.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's too late now. It's like if I quit right now, I have no skills.
Oh, it's too late. It's too late.
I have no job history. Like I couldn't even get hired. I couldn't get hired anywhere right now.
No, it's too late for all of us. We have to make
great point. That's an amazing point. Yes.
Keep going.
Yeah.
No one will hire me in a regular job.
No.
Yeah, I know. I have no skills.
Oh, unhireable.
No, my references they're probably dead. They're dead.
Yeah. They're all long dead. From like that sandwich shop I worked at 14. All dead. When I was an elf at Macy's Santaland in New York, I'm sure that Santa Phil is not with us anymore.
Yeah,
can't fit the costume.
Yeah, no, they don't want me anymore.
I just want to remind everybody that Gilda's Girls Night Out is a benefit. So just please go to the websites listed on the screen, make a donation, help support the incredible work that they and counseling and support they give to everyone that needs it for no money. So, okay, I'm going to switch it up, everybody. Just going back to Gilda, obviously, we were just talking about how, for each of us personally, how she was a trailblazer in comedy and how that really affected us as young women when we saw this and went, oh, this could be me, or I've never seen this before. And when she was first hired after Lorne Michaels for SNL, which is just wild. So that was, it's been 46 years. It's been 46 years. And yes, I think we can all agree in different ways that for women, things have changed. There's different challenges, better, worse. there's new opportunities. So, but I know, like right away, Arden, I think you said that when you were watching, I thought it was such a good point that when you were first introduced to watching Gilda Radner, watching this, you had no idea that there was like this sort of cultural reaction of women aren't funny. Because it was just like, yeah, look at all these great people doing great things. I relate to this. I hope I can do it myself. So, I'll just start with you. Like for you, as you've gone forward, do you feel like there's more women on stage, there's better parts that you go out for, there's things that you're like, oh, this is so much more creatively stimulating?
I would say I feel like particularly like in the last 3 years or so, I feel like there's been a lot of changes since I've been doing it, but I would say more and more recently. I do really think after like times, I mean, like just having more women at the helm, having more like Issa Rae or Phoebe Waller-Bridge or like the Broad City ladies, or that there's this show I Hate Suzy that was created by this woman in England that's amazing. And like to me, Insatiable, our showrunner was a woman, our producers were women, most of the directors were women or gay men. Like I have seen more recently a change for sure. I think I was thinking about this, like, I think there's more interesting parts. I think I think it's not quite as important that women are likable as I do think that people are coming around to seeing more complicated women. So yeah, I think it's definitely gotten better. For me, I was trying to think of like room for improvement. And I feel like the thing that I know I struggle with, I do think there's still a pay gap between men and women. And I have guy friends that have no credits, that have their fee is higher than mine. And I've been doing this for 25 years. And, stuff like that. Like, I do think that is an area that, I probably in any industry still, I do think the pay inequality, I think is still a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Yeah, I think, and even as a touring stand-up or whatever, so in general, I think it's getting better, but I still think we have a ways to go.
That's so interesting you mentioned that, because watching Gilda Radner on SNL specifically, there was this one skit where she was singing. She was super hammered in the back, and then she was singing on stage, and she had on these tight jeans. And because she said, I think she wrote songs in real life. In fact, her first husband was a musician, and it was like she was one of the boys. It really was. It almost looked like they looked up to her. It was so rad to watch her, and she almost made it like it was genderless, which was amazing to watch her do that. But that wasn't a time where it was really stifling for women. I didn't even, because it's like the early 80s. It's a travesty that we actually even have to talk about this and say that we are getting paid less than men. I think I try to ignore it. I don't even think about it. What I do, it's really interesting to hear that. Why? There's no really rhyme or reason of why we would be getting paid less. But the good news, and what I think has changed, is that we are talking about it. I mean, there was a time where there really were no formats to talk about anything of gender, nationality, or whatever anyone's preferences. But now we actually get to talk about it, which I think where there is awareness is where change can occur.
Yeah. I mean, Cheryl, I was just thinking too about Curb. I mean, that is some good female characters, right from the start.
Yeah, I mean, I have been very fortunate in my career, because even starting at the Groundlings, my first teacher there was Lisa Kudrow. So she was my first teacher right before she was in. So I had these really strong, funny women, in front of me. So I never, honestly, I had not even heard anyone say women aren't funny until after I left the Groundlings, and then somebody was talking about stand-up comedians, and somebody said that, and I was like, I don't know why I had never heard that, which is good and bad. Because at the Groundlings, it was very, to me, this is my perspective, just what I felt and saw, it was very hand in hand, guys and girls. And if you were funny, you were funny. And if you weren't, you weren't. And that was all there was to it. And then, yeah, I've been very fortunate on Curb because it's, although it has been predominantly men, directors and even our cast, but the women that have been on or are on are very strong and very funny. And I got to direct an episode last season, so that was fun.
Yay!
Yeah.
This is kind of funny because when my daughter was little, she was probably like 6. She wanted me to tell a story about when I was little and I broke my arm and I went to the doctor and I said, and then he put it on the x-ray machine and she was like, "Hey, your doctor was a guy?" No, I didn't know there were guy doctors because up until then she'd only had like her pediatrician was a woman, her dentist was a woman. Every doctor she'd ever met had been a woman. So she was just shocked that there was a male doctor.
I love it.
But so it was kind of nice because it was like, oh wow, pendulum is swinging. But
Right.
yeah, it still needs to swing. And also to the point of men and women being paid differently. Also, when my daughter was younger, we were talking about how women don't get paid the same as men. And she asked me why. And I said, well, I guess the idea was back in the day, the man was the guy who came home with the money to pay the bills and the woman stayed at home. I said, but now it's not that way. I mean, it's pretty 50-50 men and women in the workforce. And not only that, but a lot of times it's single moms. So they're having to even pay more of the bills. And she said, so women should get paid more. I was like,
Oh, look at that.
Yes. Yes.
hopefully my daughter will run the world one day.
That's right. So,
But-
by the way,
Though she's not developing in a bubble, Cheryl. I'm giving you credit.
Well, thank you.
and how was directing?
It
How
was
was that experience?
Fun. It was great. Really fun. It's interesting because the hours are different as a director. You're just sitting in your trailer, like having a snack, and as a director, you're the first one there and the last one to leave. And but it was great. Really, really, really fun. Really fun.
Awesome. Am I right, Sufi, in that you are a dancer, did dance
Oh,
professionally?
interesting question you asked.
Yeah.
I was 15. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I had the good old, mom's going to sit you down and ask what you're going to do for a living.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, here it goes. And I'm like, Mother, I want to be a backup dancer for In Living Color. I'm gonna be like, I was bent on, I hell bent on it. She's like, and no, you're not gonna make any money as a dancer, so maybe you should try acting. So I actually agreed to my mom at 15, she said that. But no, I still dance. I love it. I taught dance to kids for a little bit. It's such a freeing art. It's like the one where we don't need words, just kind of move. It's such a beautiful form, and I dance all the time, actually. Not very well, but I do. And I'm excited. But I never did professional dancing. So I actually thank my mom for that, because I don't know what kind of a shelf life I would have had. As a professional dancer.
Yeah.
You want me to text your mom pictures of JLo right now? Because I
So, there are success levels from the background dancers. Thank you, Suzy.
I
Thank
know.
you.
wasn't she a backup dancer?
She was she's
Fly girl.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
a fly girl.
fly girl. She was
Oh,
good.
you need to text your mom. Let me know.
I'm sure she'll know who J-Lo is, right?
If that'd be hilarious, she's like, I don't know. Who's that?
Who's this J-Lo? Yeah, no.
Like, we have a lot of education to do. We've got a lot of education.
But I don't. Yeah, but I'm still scared. I'll text her from a burner phone.
I got you, girl. We're gonna plan it.
Yeah, in the stand-up world, I will say that when I started stand-up, I had no idea that there was this big disparity between men and women. I started with so many women that were like in, just starting out. Just seemed like there was, and not only that, people were different ages. So like some people that were starting were like even in their 50s, for all the way down, and so it just seemed to me like very diverse in every category. And then when I decided to really try to do it, and moving to New York, I think all of a sudden it hit me in the face that it was very different. And a big problem was that you never, like, you would see other women comedians and you would be like, oh my God, we have to hang out. Why do we never see each other? And they would realize you never see each other because there's only one of you on every show.
Yeah. I know my friend Lisa Delirious and I were talking about how it was hard to get, like, that the guys, there was a lot of camaraderie and they would all kind of like come up together, but because there was only one woman on each, like the woman was almost every person for themselves, you know, and because you weren't all on the same lineup, you know, so eventually Lisa and I started a show together, but that even when you tour, like even touring, the club owners still across the country, like if you're the headliner, you're there, you know, your poster's on the wall. And the club, I remember one club owner recently saying to me, like, you're the girl comic, aren't you? It's like, I'm the comedian that I'm the girl comic. Like, or you'll go do press at radio in the morning and they'll think I'm the publicist and they're like, when's the comedian getting here? You're like, I'm the comedian, you know, and it's really, you know, or you'll go in and the person will be like, are you at the bachelorette party? And you're like, no, I'm the person right there on the phone. I've played her 5 times. This is my 5th year in a row, Beth. Like, at what point do you believe that I'm the one? Like, that still happens a lot.
Arden, I was a while ago now, but I remember going to the stage because there was no backstage. You would just head to the stage from the back of a club. And as I was walking to the stage, some audience member was like, can I get the check? I was like, going on.
Yeah. It's always been a boys club. Like it started as a boys club. And I don't know, it's just going to be really hard to shed that old idea.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, bookers have even said, like, we already have a woman, but it's also the same if you're an ethnic minority. It's like, you'll only have one Asian, you know? One black person, because, like, that's enough. We have one, that's enough. Yeah. Unless it's like an all fill in the blank show. I wouldn't be another person of color because I'm it.
Yeah. Right. Unless you have some celebrity like you do, Suzy, so it's maybe easier for the actors, for them to see a reel or see something you've done. But yeah, the fact that we have this conversation it's mind-boggling. You know, I think I turn it off sometimes and just say, "Oh, hey, I'm here," and
absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
You know, but yeah,
But a lot of the female stand-up comedian tours too, it'll be like pumps and punchlines, stand-up in stilettos. Like they want you like a high heel. There's nothing less conducive than doing 50 minutes being free and relaxed on a show than having to wear a pump.
I know.
Should I tell a joke? Like, you know, just like it's hard.
That would be great. I want some sort of
either, because laughing should be the great equalizer. You're either funny or you're not. It's not an opinion, you know. And I think women and men have always been funny, but the problem is that the gatekeepers were men, the decision makers were men, the people in power were men, and that's what's changing.
Yeah. Yes, I do think in the last few years, I think it's changed. I actually do think it's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the audiences are changing because the audience, you know, we as females, we had to unlearn a lot as well because we were taught, you know, that you're not a comedian, you're a female comedian. And so we have to sort of dispel those myths about ourselves, you know, to keep moving on. But I do feel like when change happens, it happens very quickly and it happens exponentially. And I feel we're at that point.
It's true. It is like, it's when I realize, like, with some of the younger female, but people who do comedy, that I realize that almost out of armor, I have like internalized like misogyny against myself of like, you know what I mean? Where just to make it through, you know, or like picking your outfit for the stage, like guys just throw on a t-shirt and like trying to figure out what to wear on stage that feels safe, that like, do you have a certain state? Like, do you have a stage outfit? Do you guys have stage outfits?
Well, like in the 90s, you know, like to be considered funny, you kind of had to hide your femininity. and
Checker shirt, just
dress
boy,
like-
tomboy.
sort of like either androgynous or you dress like a guy.
I heard Amy Poehler was on a podcast recently talking about that. How you'd wear she'd wear like oversized shirts, like high, to try to really be one of the guys, like hide it. And then if somebody did go up there like owning their femininity, you're like, what are they doing?
Okay, show off.
Yeah. I think it's changing maybe, but like
I think so. I've also always wanted to open up a store called Show Shirt because I think there's a very specific shirt that's good for a show. And even like auditioning, and it's like, it's blousy, but it's not too tight, and it has a good neckline, but it's not too high, it's not too low. It's like it's like a color, like some sort of good color, but not too light, to show possible like anxiety, sweat stains. Like it's got a few.
It's sexy enough that the guys will listen, but not threatening, so their dates are threatened by you.
So their wives are mad.
The guys will because they're not used to listening to a woman talk that long, so they'll pay attention and they'll think about it for a second, but their date isn't going to be like, what are you looking at?
So many things. It really does make me have so much more admiration and respect for like Lucille Ball, like what she must have done.
Yeah,
we're talking about black and okay. This is way before there was any talk of any kind of equal women's rights. Her and Desi Arnaz, she's married to an ethnic man, and she was a powerhouse and a leader in her own right. And of course, Gilda goes right in there, and those women, who paved the way there. I mean, for us, quite frankly, right, to be here. And I keep thinking about how difficult that must have been for Lucy to show up on a long day in her trailer and what the sexism must have been like.
She had a production company. I mean, she had her own, she had ownership over it. Desi Lou,
And he got all the credit. I mean, I didn't know that Lucy was a leader until I got much older. Because they never talked about her that way. She was just really funny and always doing her. What a genius,
Yeah.
So there were always trailblazers, and of course Gilda was one of them.
Young Goldie Hawn started producing her own. She, produced Private Benjamin, like that, like having to make your own stuff. Like at a certain point when you get, like taking it into your own hands.
Yeah.
And Elaine May, who is also from Second City, was the first woman to write, produce, and direct a feature.
Oh God.
Nichols and May.
Oh yeah. Amazing.
So we're celebrating Gilda, who, of course, battled ovarian cancer. And unfortunately, I speak for we all have had experience with cancer in some way or another, whether it's personal or friends or family members, loved ones. So, I know for myself, I really wish that I would have gone for some emotional support or group counseling or something when I had breast cancer, thankfully a very early stage, but still I found it highly traumatic. And it does feel super lonely. I mean, there's so many things in life that feel very lonely, and that feels particularly lonely. And often, too, when you talk to people who are not going through it, especially when you are in the thick of going through it, you feel their fear more than you feel like their support sometimes, because people are so scared and they really want to just go in some way, can you tell me this is not going to happen to me? So that's why it is also, I think, really important to find very supportive people and seek people who understand what you're talking about. And, I bring this up. I know we're having fun. We're eating cake. We're talking about showbiz and stuff. But, just for a moment to have a deeper conversation, would you mind sharing a little bit of your experiences dealing with anyone that has suffered from cancer or had to deal with it yourself?
Well, my mother died of breast cancer a long time ago, but she read Gilda Radner's book while she was going through it. And I'm trying to remember how old I was. She had breast cancer twice. Her joke was, the good thing about breast cancer is you can only get it twice. The first time she got it, I was like a baby, so I don't remember it. But the second time I was probably, I don't know, I was a teenager. And I remember she was reading, what was it called? It's Always Something. Gilda's It's Always Something. And she would discuss it with me a little, but you know, as you were saying, like especially if you're a kid, but also if you haven't gone through the illness or experienced any of it, like I think it would have been difficult for her to share it with, you know, her kid or her kids. And so I love that she had this book for comfort. And it humanized Gilda even more for me. And I haven't brought myself to read that book because I know it'll remind me of my mother. Right. But I will definitely read it.
I can say in the last 3 years I lost both my parents back to back, and like just the feeling of people, they don't know what to say. And so how comforting it was of being with people who had also had something like that happen. And then one of my friends, Steve Heitner, who I mentioned, the Vanya, his son, Steve's one of my best friends, and I just also advocate, like his son, who's 14, was having like leg pains, and they kept treating the mom of the little boy like she kept asking for an MRI, and they were like, "Oh, mom, like it's growing pains. You're gonna have to he's going to high school now." Like they wouldn't give her an MRI. And I think particularly with health, I think a lot of women have to advocate a lot. They kept belittling her, and then he has stage 4 bone and lung cancer, and then Steve got cancer.
Oh my God.
And so, you know, and they're both just amazing. It's happening now. And just I know he's been such a comfort for me, and just how I don't mean to be emotional, but like I just know how comforting when you're walking through something to be with other people that aren't judging you, and like who because that fundamentally, like, that you still want to be seen as yourself. Like, what makes you you without either a death or cancer? Like, this is a great kid. This is a great guy. I'm still myself. Like, but it's almost like sometimes people treat you like they can catch things. And how nice it is to be around people that aren't scared of you and just see you as you, that is going through something but isn't like terrified to talk to you. I think support is so, like, that's what keeps, like, you're still allowed to have a little fun and a laugh even when things are hard. And I think support groups are so important for that, and for families like Steve's that are walking through it. So it's not making it emotional, but it's a lot, man.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, no, totally. I had my friend Chanel. We were in the same month in November. I knew her when I was like 13, and she let me smoke cigarettes at her parties and not tell my mom. And she was like a sister to me. She was a great lady, a really, really good person. She always had these little like backyard parties with lights, and everybody loved Chanel. And she got ovarian cancer in 2015. And I just remember, you know, her being her jovial self, so beautiful. She had like this curly hair, and she was always up, always there for everybody else. Like she was the person you went to when you were having a problem. Talk to Chanel about it. And then when she had gotten cancer, it was terrible. So her face changed, and her stomach was really extended, and her face was shrinking, but her body was extending because of cancer. And it was like that look in her eye, you know, like when I would talk to her. And I think it was kind of like you were saying, Arden. It's like you don't know what to say to somebody in that condition because you don't want to alarm them or trigger them or anything. So I would always talk about the past or try to be like, and I didn't exactly know how to support her except for just to listen to her. But I didn't ever bring it up. That's what I remember about talking to her. Like I never brought it up. I just talked about us as friends. And I was off in Baltimore shooting, and I got the call that Chanel had passed away. And then they cremated her, and I came back for the service, and all these people came. My God, hundreds of people came. They had all this amazing stuff to say about her. And I just will never forget how she was survived by everybody that loved her and that she loved. And to this day, it's like she's still here. I can just see her face right now. If I look, she's such a great lady. And it was just so interesting to see how strong she was in the sickness. It wasn't her identity, and she didn't let it overtake her. She was just there. thank you for asking that and for having us remember, because that's a hard topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even if you are lucky enough to survive, you immediately you're a cancer survivor, but surviving actually starts the second that you have to continue with life, because that's a whole other end of surviving. That is really hard to just walk back into this world. Everyone's like, you're good, right? You're good. You're good. You're good. If you're even lucky enough to get there.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I hear what you've all said, and I've had my own experience with my brother died suddenly 3 years ago, and grief, like you're saying, Arden, is very isolating, and I'm sure being diagnosed with cancer is the same thing, because you look around the people in the room that you are usually with, and they're not experiencing the same thing that you are. So it's hard, because who do you talk to about it? And you have people that care about you, that don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. So sometimes they don't say anything. So the idea that there would be a cancer support community where everybody's experiencing the same but different. Of course, everyone's experience is going to be different, but can understand what you're going through, and not feel, like you're saying, not feel scared. Somebody's not scared just to talk to another person, which is how I find myself sometimes also. If I have a friend that's battling pancreatic cancer, and I know it's difficult, and I want to be there for her, and at the same time, I don't want to upset her, and I don't, it's hard for me to know exactly what the best support is. So I think the more of a community you can be a part of when you're going through something like this, the more emotionally stable you'll feel, and it'll make you stronger, and it'll make you stronger emotionally and physically, because then you have to battle your battle, right? So I think
Absolutely.
I think this is so important, and I love the idea of Gilda's clubs and people coming together and supporting each other and saying, look, I hear you, I see you, I know what you're going through. I think it's so important, and can only make us stronger.
Yeah. And just a reminder that we're here, that's what it is. We're here.
Yeah.
So yes, big thanks to Gilda for recognizing the value and just inspiring this organization that has provided hundreds of thousands of patients and families and friends with mental health and lifestyle support services in all these locations, 175 locations. So just a reminder to everyone, please donate. You can get the websites. They're all here. So just whatever you can is just really appreciated. Thank you so much. And thank you to our guests. Before I let you go and waltz into the rest of your life, finish your cake, your champagne bottle on your own. If you could just, let me know what you're up to. Let our audience know where they can find and experience your brilliance next. I will start with you. Thank you so much, Arden Myrin.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hey guys, my book, Little Miss Little Compton, is available right now. The paperback is coming out in September. I have a podcast called Will You Accept This Rose? That's on iHeartRadio about the Bachelor franchise. And then I'm about to start a new one that will be up soon with Julianne Robinson, who's the director of Bridgerton. And we're doing a female empowerment podcast called Lady of the Road. We interviewed Joan Jett. We interviewed Lady Danbury, the gal with the hat and the Duke's aunt with the top hat and the cane. We actually talked to a person who is a specialist in the history of women being kind of pushed aside when they know something's wrong physically. Like a friend of ours who had a brain tumor, and they just treated it like they wanted that she was just a hysterical actress and wanted to put her on, Prozac, and it turned out she had a brain. So we talk. It's a really we talk about advocating for yourself, like financially for salary. So it's that will be coming out soon on iHeartRadio.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you so much, Sufe Bradshaw. Pleasure.
God, what a great panel. You guys are so cool. Gosh, thank you. Yeah, I just wrote a short film, actually called Amazing Grace. It's about single parents. I was a child of a single parent, and I don't think that a lot of that narrative happens a lot. What the result of being a single child of a single parent is, and just different responsibilities. So I wrote about it, and so I'm hoping to shoot that in August, and I'm super excited about that journey. And I'm really happy about a film coming out with D.B. Weiss, the writer of Game of Thrones. He's and that'll be out on Metal Lords will be out on Netflix in the summer. So those are the two projects, and I'm super excited.
Fantastic. And also, so nice to meet you. And thank you, Suzy Nakamura.
Wonderful group to be involved with. Support Gilda's Club. And you can see me in season 3 of Dead to Me, season 3 of Tacoma FD, and upcoming season 2 of Avenue 5 on HBO.
Excellent. Yay. And finally, what an honor. Thank you, Cheryl Hines.
Thank you, ladies. This has been so fun. Drinking alone in my office. They don't know that I'm actually talking to people, my family. It's been so great. And of course, was so happy to be here for the cancer community support community, which is amazing. Yes, we just shot season 11 of Curb. I don't know when it's coming out, but you can listen to my podcast with Tig Notaro called Tig and Cheryl True Story. And we watch a documentary and then we talk about it. Sometimes we never really make it to the documentary. We don't talk about it in a serious way. Let's just say that. But anywhere you get your podcast. So that's
fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. And I'm Ophira Eisenberg. You'll see me probably some rooftop somewhere around if you're going out to see stand-up comedy. And I also host the comedy trivia podcast and radio show on NPR called Ask Me Another. You can also hear some of my stories on The Moth. This was both hilarious and heartwarming and just a totally unique and wonderful experience. Thank you, everybody, for your support. Thank you to these people right here, these women, for making time from their lives to be here. And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, thank you. Guys, let's all fly to New York and go to Ophira's show and make out.
Yes!
Yeah, please do. Please do.
I love it.